Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Michael Oskam with ProWestRecording.com, and the video I'm going to show you today is very helpful in terms of vocal clarity in a mix, and not in the way that you may think. If you watch a lot of videos on either YouTube or some other paid sites on how to do certain things, you may not even find this trick on some of those. I don't see this trick very often online, and so I wanted to be one of the first anyway, to give you this trick. This trick is something used in mastering. If you ever send away tracks for mastering, or if you master yourself, you know of the different techniques that you use, things like mid-side EQ, mid-side compression, obviously limiting, um, and equalization, all these things. This is not a mastering tutorial by any means, but this idea was born out of my meeting with a mastering engineer. Um, the particular engineer that I'm talking about, he likes to have files sent to him in stems, and in particular, he'll take a stereo stem or file of the music, and then he also likes a stereo file of the vocal because a lot of times the vocal is placed incorrectly, inappropriately in a mix, either too hot, too low. Now, if it comes mixed in just a stereo mix with the vocal in it, they have ways of, by way of mid-side EQ and mid-side compression, of bringing up the center where the vocal is or lowering it and things like that. But we don't all have budgets. I know you don't all have budgets to send away to big mix engineers, and a lot of times you end up, mastering engineers. And I know a lot of times you end up mastering your own stuff. So this particular song is a really old song that I found on a hard drive, and I'm kind of remixing it. It was a mess. Because we all learn so much as we grow and grow as mix engineers. So I remixed it a bit, and I want to show you a technique that I use pretty frequently because I had such a good relationship with this engineer of 30 years. And I'm going to show you what this trick is real quick. The tools used are tools that you use for other things. You've heard the term ducking, especially in EDM type music, where um, a kick drum might trigger a bass to drop in volume by way of sidechaining compression. So here's how this works. This bright pink track right here, if you'll notice in a video that I'd done in the past, I like to have a master fader, obviously, but pre-master fader, I like to have a stereo aux where all of these channels are being routed to. So everything is being routed to this pink. That's why I named it pink, or colored it pink, excuse me. And then, of course, I have my master fader, which is where my stereo bus processing really takes place. So I'm going to do this. If you're familiar with the plugin Vocal Writer, that plugin is based on a similar idea. You don't necessarily have to spend the $150, $200 to buy that kind of plugin. This will take care of it for you. This technique. So with everything dumping into this two bus, or into this pink track here, my two bus, you're gonna see first that we're clipping. It's so hard to think that deep down you don't really love me. Okay, and there was a video that I put up not too long ago showing you the first reason why I kind of put this pre-master fader buffer is because you could put on your all group, drop all the faders, and hence not be clipping your master output. But that changes a lot of things depending on whether your sends are pre or post fader, and could severely alter the mix. So you can watch that video of mine if you want to go back. So to give myself some headroom before I'm putting my final processing on it, I'm going to drop this by about 8 decibels. That way I retain my mix over here, including all send levels, and I give myself 8 dB of headroom. Now look over here at our metering where we're at. It's so hard to think that deep down you don't really love me. And those levels are pretty good for us. If you were shipping off for mastering, it's about 3 dB below 0 dBFS, and so as a result, that's a good amount of headroom. I'm not sending this off, so I will be mastering this project, and so for me, that's enough. But The problem that we started talking about at the onset of the video is I don't feel like the vocal sits in the mix well enough, okay? Now, there's a lot of ways that they teach you to combat that. Your instinct is to turn it up. But if you do that, you'll listen back to it in your car, for example, and it's just all vocal. And it just doesn't feel as though the vocal is a part of the song. It just sounds like a vocal that's kind of sticking out. So you go back, maybe you undermix it. Now it's not loud enough. Then they tell you might have some low mid problems, like some mud. And so re-EQ your vocals so that it sits on top, frequency-wise. Those are all true things. But even so, you may not find that the vocal sits appropriately in your mix. So here's a trick to get it to do that. On this, as a recap, everything is dumping into this pink track here. And on it, I have instantiated the compressor limiter that comes with Pro Tools. And out of my vocal subgroup here, I have a send called Tucker. Usually I use Ducker. I rename it Ducker, but we're going to tuck the vocal right, or tuck the music right under the vocal here. So all you have to do at this point then is come into your compressor limiter, make sure it's the side chain is turned on, okay, and that its key input is the Ducker that you are sending. And of course, although it's almost self-explanatory, make sure that the Tucker, in this case, is turned up to 0 dB, or nominal, excuse me. So now what's going to happen, I'm going to bypass this. It's so hard. Okay. I want that vocal that no matter how loud the music gets, to still sit right on top of the music, okay? So what this compressor is going to do then is it's going to, now that it's being fed by the sidechain input, or the key input, which is the vocal, is it's going to compress based on how much vocal level is being sent to this compressor, okay? Bear with me here now a second. Let me unbypass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill this threshold right around here. And what it's going to do is, as I play and as the vocalist sings, you're going to see the decibel level here drop dramatically. It's so hard to think that deep down you don't really love me. And my heart is breaking once again. Obviously that sounds very unnatural, but now you're starting to see what I'm saying. Each time the vocalist is singing, the band is dropping almost 12, 13, 14, 15 decibels and compressing down that low. It sounds ridiculous, but this is the idea. I think that's dramatic enough for you to understand what's going on. So now it's just a matter of setting your compressor to the appropriate levels and threshold. I really only want to knock off maybe a dB or two when the band gets loud. So we need to kind of go through and find a part where the band is loud and the vocalist needs to sit on top. So let's listen through and play. You'll see what I mean. It's so hard to think that deep down you don't really love me. My heart is breaking once again. This time I just may try to get in your mind and break you. I'll try to strike out in the end. It's your power, your love, so sweet and sour. That's what it's like to be in love with you. I know I'm not the only one you fooled. I'm you. Pretend that you loved me and that I knew. It's true that when it comes to games I have no. And that, that's a pretty good start. I lessen the release time because the longer the release, if the vocalist lets off, then you get this pumping effect where you hear the swell of the music coming back in. So that, and I feel like the threshold's in a good place. So now let me play this again and really listen for it. As the vocalist is singing, the band is ducking right underneath. And if the vocalist is still singing, it gets a little quieter, well then the compressor lets up and the band is a little bit louder, but still beneath the vocal. So think of it as a wave, okay? And the vocal is just constantly sitting right on top of the wave. Watch. It's so hard to think that deep down you don't really love me. And my heart is breaking once again.
try to get in your mind and break you. I'll try, strike out in the end. It's your power.
And then I'm gonna bypass.
Your love's sweet and sour. That's what it's like to be
Or bypass.
in love with you. I know I'm not the only one you fooled. I'm you. Pretend that you loved me and that I knew it's true. When it
You hear how when I unbypass it, it's almost like the vocal gets louder. It doesn't really. It actually stays at pretty much the same level because of my makeup gain. It's essentially the same. It's just the band drops, and it doesn't really sound super compressed. It's just the level drops. So we'll take it from this loud part again, and I'll have it I'll have it on, and then I'll bypass it.
I'm you, pretend that you loved me and that I knew it's true. But when it comes to games, I have no clue. But I know I'm not winning. That's what it's like to be in love with you. I know I'm not the only one you fooled. I'm you.
And bypass.
Pretend that you loved me and that I knew it's true. But when it comes to games, I have no clue.
So it has clarity, it has presence. All of a sudden, I'm hearing every word, every syllable of every word. I'm hearing the vocal clearly. I'm not changing. I'm not squashing the band. I'm not limiting the vocal to get it really hot so that it sits there. And I'm also, with the use of my pre-master fader, I would be able to get even more headroom out of it. Because this track is really hot. It's hotter than it should be.
That's what it's like to be in love with you. I know I'm not the only one you fooled. I'm you. Pretend that
So there's the vocals sitting nicely on top. And now I'm not going to get into this, but now I could start applying my limiting and all this to my master fader for mastering type, processes. I'll just switch this thing on. Now you'll see that it's going to be brought up to volume and the vocal will still sit there.
that's what it's like to be in love with you. I know I'm not the only one you fooled. I'm you. Pretend that you loved me and that I knew it's true. But when it comes
So
to
let's
games,
bypass
I
those.
have no clue. But I know I'm not winning.
Unbelievable, right? So here comes the vocalist back in.
Time stop. Never sever the lines.
I want it to sit on top of the music, so unbypass.
Trying to find the truth. Your time consuming. I find this curse may never leave you. I've tried, but I can't make my way to you. It's your
Yep, and then we get some limiting.
Leaves me lost for hours.
I could go on all day, but this is the point of the video. I wanted to show you how, with some sidechain compression, you can get the vocal to constantly be sitting appropriately right on top of your music bed. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I got to get going, but please subscribe, drop comments. We can chat, send mixes. Let's stay connected out there. Hope you have a good night.